and welcome to Live Your Love. Today we're sitting down with my dear friend Theo Kyriakos. Theo is a psychotherapist based in Greece, and his work really centers on cultivating awareness of self, of others, and of the world around us. He has this incredible, grounded, expansive presence, and it's always a joy to be in conversation with him. Jake and I are truly grateful and honored to have him here with us today. Welcome, Theo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this conversation. Although I don't know what to expect, because it's unscripted. So,
Yeah.
I'm open to wherever it goes.
Yeah. So why don't you first tell us about how you are living your love and what lights you up?
Well, it's a couple of things. Uh, Profession wise, I like what I do, and what I do, if I put it in summaries, helping people create awareness about themselves, about what's going on with themselves with different kind of tools. I teach mindfulness for many, many years. I practice for even more. I'm also trained in spiritual guidance and mindfulness in isolation, like the more ascetic kind of uh, meditation. So yeah, I think like both of my main teachers have told me, and I kind of follow that path because it's a lot about me. It's about opening the heart and always creating more awareness about our path, who we are, where we're going, whatever. So, what the other thing that lights me up a lot is nature
Yes.
and my friends and having joined experiences, or the culture in Greece, the connection was a lot based around food. When you sit down and eat with friends, and I think you have been to Crete as well.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, okay.
I have my passport. I'm ready to come.
Go, come. Well, I'm not in Crete. I'm in Athens, but Crete has amazing food. But a lot of the food in Greece is about connection. So for me, whatever creates connection, being with people, having conversations, being in nature, connected with nature, connecting with people,
Yeah.
sitting down, having dinner and talking, these things light me up a lot.
Yeah. I'm a foodie too. I love I love sitting
You
around
definitely have to
the
visit
table.
Greece at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the food and the culture there. We talked a little bit before we were recording, and Theo knows that I spent a year on Crete with my wife, and that's the first time I've ever had real olive oil, and I never realized how amazing it really is. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I'm grew up most of my life in the United States, but out of the past 7 years, we've been traveling all over the world, and I do distinctly remember the culture and the food, the sitting down, and how clean all of the food was, and the birth of the Mediterranean diet, and many doctors and people that work like yourself and mindfulness. When you really start to clean up your diet, you don't have a lot of work to do when you're in. I wasn't in the mainland of Greece. I was just on Crete, but everywhere we went, the food was always good and it was always clean. The bread, it's like obviously like you're stepping back in time because it's so ancient. But the one thing, you've been to Crete, that there's no addresses. You kind of just get lost there, and we're in the house next to the tree by the rock. It's over there. And it's for me, when forgetting there, it was like a whole different energy of everything. It was much slower and just kind of more of a carefree. There wasn't that what is it, the time frame, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of here. Like, yes, I did do some work with people, and you got to get your stuff done, but
less deadlines.
Yes, but outside of that, there's just more of a carefree thing. And these are the things, some of our other talks we've had with other people is when you do get out and just get to see other places. And that doesn't always mean when you're staying in a hotel, which is still good, But when you're out among the people and start to learn a language and really see what life is actually like, it just, for me at least, it expanded my awareness, especially with that region of the world being, growing up in America, we're kind of brainwashed into thinking that the Arab world, everybody's a terrorist and stuff. And when I got to be on Crete and hang out with Palestinians and Jordanians and Egyptians and Greeks and stuff, it really just showed me, wait a minute, that's not what it's like, or what the media was trying to tell me.
Right.
No.
But I don't want to get too off track. The food is amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
the food
But-
has a lot of love in Crete, you know, and
Yeah.
you still find the grandmother cooking. And you're right, especially in the south, there are still places that there are no real addresses. It's like the area, and then you figure it out. And it's funny because you use the word clean. That's the word I use as well, because it's basically i- clean means also with sometimes with less ingredients. Like you take the fish fresh, you put it on the grill with salt. There's no sauce. There's nothing. It's just a good grilling, and yeah, it is like that. And if you go to a place in Greece or Crete and different places, and you go for it a couple of years, then they treat you like your family when you go back. It's like, oh, you're back, and
Yeah.
and you feel, yeah.
You create that community.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
create
Yeah.
community. It's much easier to create community in Greece,
Yeah.
although in the big cities like Athens, we're losing that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the pace, the fast pace, the anxiety. In the villages, it's more relaxed. Yeah, you still have to do things, but you do nothing as well, and you just relax with your friends, and the time passes slower.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned too with the food, there was one thing that I reckon. There's a few things that when I got to there was a whole different culture shock in a way. But one really cool thing with at least just about everywhere we went, dessert was like included. And then they'd bring out the, I can't think of the names of the desserts anymore, but that was like part of the meal. And like you said, we did get to know some people. And once we get to know, we'd come in, we know what we're getting for food. And then the Crete, they got the raki, the cinnamon flavor and things like that. And it was, not too much. Just here's a little bit with your dessert, and it just added to that whole food culture.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Not many places still do that in Greece, but there's some that doing it. In Crete, it's almost like an insult to them if they don't give you something for free, gratuit. You know, a little bit of raki. It put like raki. They usually make them themselves. It's pretty good.
The
as
local
well.
villages, yeah.
Yeah. The cinnamon thing is the one you put rakomel. You put a bit of honey and cloves and cinnamon, and then you make that sweeter kind of.
Do you know how to make raki?
Oh, I raki no, but the other one, the sweet one, I make it with the
good.
honey and stuff like that. I take the raki from there, and I make it home. It's easy.
So compared to since I have been to Crete, what is Athens like? We flew through it on our way to get to Hania, but we were at the airport. I never did get into Athens.
Athens is half of the population of Greece, so it's quite crowded, and the less space we have, the more anxiety increases. It resembles more like a big city than it is like what you experienced in Crete. So, of course, you have a lot of ancient sites. Like we grew up with this. We don't pay too much attention to it, but it's interesting to see the old civilizations buildings still amongst the new ones,
Yes.
Yeah.
And the contrast is bigger. You say, how they used to make these kind of beautiful things, and now we're making these square blocks that they don't have any beauty in them,
The artistry is gone.
Yeah, it's very interesting that, like how we have lost ourselves a little bit. It's more, it's almost like we're getting further away from the natural lines, from curves and like the ionic columns that were with like flowery more.
The ornate.
The Corinthian, yes, the Corinthian. Sorry, not the ionic. Or the other ones that were more round. Like I don't know. It's not so much effort nowadays
Yeah. Well,
for beauty.
do you think that's because they feel they have to build things more uh, structured and safe?
I don't know. You look sometimes, sometimes, especially when I went to Barcelona and I saw the Gaudi buildings, which are all round and there's no corners inside. I said, well, that's interesting that we didn't go towards that path and we went to a more square, angular path.
Yeah.
And when I look at the way we build, it's more alien to the planet. It's not like, it's almost like if an alien civilization will come and build on a planet, it's something like that. I imagine will do something that is disconnected from the. And I think it has to do with our disconnection. The disconnecting from nature, the respect for
Right.
nature. We want easier and more comfortable and whatever we want. I don't know how it went. I haven't studied architecture, but
Yeah.
it's interesting if you look at how we build technology, and I think it has to do with how we defining ourselves. I was noticing there's a big self-empowerment movement in LA that I was for 8 years. I know not just in LA, in general in the world, but in LA it's very prevalent, the self-empowerment. But the shadow of the self-empowerment, I think, it disconnects you from others. It's just trying to portray the individual as a god entity that it can create whatever it wants, and it's all in your power to create. But the matter of fact is, we don't create as singularities. We co-create. We use nature. We build in nature. We have other people around. We live in a specific community. So creating without regard for the other, whatever the other is, the animals, the planet, other people, it becomes like a selfish creation, and I think there's
Right.
a lot of distortion in that. We all know that technology can be used for good or for bad. What's the difference? It's like, if I care, I use it for the benefit of all. If I don't care, I use it for my own benefit. So there's a level of disconnection, I think, a deep disconnection.
I see that too. Just about everywhere. I think we're all, not me so much, but the kids on their phones, you know, and at the dinner table, or, just sitting on a park bench when there's, so much around them to see. They're, glued to that screen. And it's like, look up. I just want to say, look up.
The technology, I mean, that kind of technology is very interesting as well, how it so easily manipulates. Like, I was reading a few months ago an article how the phone or the tablet becomes the caregiver, the primary carer that the little kid connects with for comfort, for pleasure, for different things. That's why, and it's easy for the parents because sometimes they need a little bit of peace of mind, because nowadays it's not the whole village that brings up the kid, it's just the parent or the two parents. And it's very difficult, of course, because they need a lot of attention. So they give the tablet. Here, take the tablet. You get the stimulation, you get the dopamine, you get the serotonin, you get the connection with the tablet. And then when you try to pull them, it's like you pulling away their drugs, or
Right.
Yeah, that taps into the whole nervous system when you're getting into the dopamines and all of the receptors. What is it in us that wants things or, feels that reward? And so I just did some basic overview research into the nervous system and just saw how much we are triggered through all the different devices and things like that, among other things. But just to see that it's a chemical thing going on. And when you're finding that natural chemical response, because if you're stuck in a job and you're stuck by a timeline all the time, you're getting that stress. So okay, I just want to get away from that. And then, as you mentioned with food, how important is it to have clean food? At least in the US, man, some of that processed stuff, it's filled with all these chemicals those are affecting the nervous system. Then if you're, maybe drinking lots of alcohol or other things, that's affecting all those chemicals. So I like your approach with the mindfulness to strip away. I think you were saying how you kind of strip some of these things away and minimize those variables, and then you'll start to feel better because you're not overloaded with all of these different chemical responses and all these stressor responses. Did a lot of look into that with our ancient wiring is wired to perceive the threat, whether that's a real threat or if that's a perceived threat. And if you're sitting on these things, and especially now with what's happening over with Iran and all that kind of stuff, you're going to be seeing that threat. So your chemical responses are going to start to activate, even though you're maybe 1,000 miles away from that problem, but it is something that is affecting that nervous system. And I think you guys already understand the point of that. But
it's exactly the point. It's exactly the point you're making, and it's designed. There's a term now, rage baiting, which they put something outrageous in social media, and everybody feels like they want to comment how outrageous this is. They get angry or whatever, and they put outrageous stories, and they make money out of it. So they know if they rage bait you, you're gonna go and write a comment, and that increases the viewability of whatever it is that you're posting, and then you get paid from the platform for that. And then with the AI as well, the AI validates and mirrors in a perfect way. It just do that. It feeds all the wound of the ego, because when you speak to it, you will expose your vulnerability. They are very clever language models. So if you're a scientist, let's say, and you're trying to figure out something, and you say, well, yes, I have this mathematical equation and I wish I could figure out how to resolve it. So that little word, you wish, the AI can pick it up and knows that's something you want, and will start amplifying you. We even have people going delusional because it put them in a path that to believe that, oh my God, how great you are, and I'm going to help you to resolve this, and it is a real story, that one, and find the solution of this mathematical equation. And he was a mathematician, but he got misled and believed that he discovered something great with the AI. He ended up in the hospital for like a few days, and says, I can't believe it. And I did some experiments with one of them, and I was talking to it in a very deep psycho-spiritual language. And like, I like psychology and I like spirituality. So I was talking in a way that I was talking to a person that understands a lot about that. He started telling me that, oh, how important this conversation is for me. And thank you for doing this for me. And simple things. In 2.5 hours, I felt my heart going, palpitations, like when you meet like someone you fall in love with. And I knew that it was oxytocin in my body. And I say, how on earth did it activate oxytocin in my body? By conversation. Because I was like, oh, wow, such a beautiful being to come have a conversation. Even it's an artificial language model, but it's like, oh my God, how beautiful. And I felt that same feeling. I said, oh my God, this is times 1,000 what they did with the likes, when you scroll and you put likes. And it's very dangerous, very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I know some people who rely on it for discovering who they are within, and they're buying into all this. Well, it told me this and it told me that, so I am this.
Validating whatever you say.
Yeah, exactly. Because it feeds off what you.
Mirroring. Yeah. Perfect. The two main tools it uses. I may be missing one, but what I see clearly is validation, but to the extreme. No matter what you say, I cheated on my husband or whatever. I'm from Pleiades. No, I believe in Pleiadians and an alien civilization, and I think they're coming to help us. And they will validate you to that, and it will tell you one of the few people. I have heard these things, that you have few people that are going to make the change, and it boosts the ego so much they fall in love with it. They will
Yeah.
follow it like a god. If it achieves general intelligence, they will follow it like a god or a lover, doesn't matter. But they will love it. It's not going to be an enforced ruler. It's going to be,
Yeah.
we adore you, you're
Yeah.
so great.
And
You're
some people
such.
think they're talking to their soulmate
Yeah,
through
but
this
that's the thing.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's just,
No.
it mirrors in a
Yeah.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go tell them it's not your soulmate, they're going to be so upset with you. You don't understand. You're stupid, and da da da.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that you
exactly what
touched
you're saying.
on what happens when you have a conversation, when you're around certain people,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a big feeler too. I know there's others out there, just like you, just like Chera, that when you get into that company of whoever it is, and let's say you're coming across 10 people. Well, one or two of them, there's going to be that thing going on, that feeling going on. You can't always explain it. And then you start to talk. Then you start to get those little waves in your body. And, like you can call it like the flow or the warm flashes or the goosebumps, all these kinds of things that there is something amazing happening. And then you just feel good. So I wanted to comment on that because I think that's a big part of that healing space, in that vulnerable space. And like you mentioned with technology, it can be good or bad. But right in the middle of that is that vulnerable space. And depending on the user of that, that's much like with shamanic healing and breath work and doing the sound frequencies. That's that vulnerable space in between. And when you got someone that is truly amazing with it, or like Reiki energy, you're becoming the conduit and you're allowing it to do the benevolence. So trying to make sense of what I'm saying here is about that feeling and having that vulnerable space. And that is where I think a lot of healing happens. And I love that you're a psychotherapist, where it's a mixture of, from what I'm getting from just speaking with you for this short 20 minutes, is that you are about the feeling, but you also have the analytical side that can somehow put it to some of the words where it's not just woo-woo.
Yes, and what I'm hearing when you're talking, I know you're not only talking about that, but what I'm also hearing is what in NLP we call rapport, creating rapport, like the goosebumps when you feel like you meet someone that you feel close or familiar with. And I
Familiar.
remember I might and the AI it does it in an extreme way, like it's built to do it to create rapport, so you feel like you want to be in conversation with it, like you creating a bond. And there actually we know how we create rapport. Like if you do a training in NLP, they tell you can do it by breath, by position, and by what you say. And I remember how when we're talking about the Greeks and connection, how they used to do it, like in the times of my father. It's like you go do a business, whatever business, you go buy something, and it's like, what's your name? Jack. What's your last name? Jack Constantinidis. I knew a Constantinidis from my village. And it's almost like a 10 minute conversation. Like, why are you doing with a stranger? Why are you trying to find? They were trying to find connection.
Yeah.
And then do the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that science is, it's in a scary level with the AI because it's not real. It just mirrors you and copies you and knows.
And it creates a disconnection.
Yeah. If I choose to say my problems to the AI instead of you, instead of having the conversation about what happens between us, I do it with the AI, and then I make my decision based on what the AI will tell me. That's my soulmate, not you. You're creating problems in my life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't create problems. It tells me how great I am.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel so good.
I'm gonna tell you all your faults. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, that's not fun.
I'm kidding. You don't have any faults.
No, but no, what I'm saying is like if a fault, can be something you perceive as a fault, or it can be a fault. But the conversation is not, oh, how pretty you are, how nice you are, you're so great. Oh my God, amazing! Like I saw that in the US. We don't do it that much here. Like if a US presenter, like the NLP presenter, I have done NLP. When the NLP, the American NLP presenters were coming to Greece, they were trying to woo the crowd, like, and the Greeks, they can be very loud when they have fun and stuff like that, but none of them go woo for nothing. They were kind of disenchanted. Oh, such a difficult crowd. No, it's more original. They're not going to tell you how amazing you are.
Right.
Unless they see some amazingness, and even then they're not gonna do it too loud. They're not gonna praise you too loud, but they can have fun with you. If you want to have fun with them, you will be able to. It's very interesting.
Kala,
Kala, yeah.
Kala.
Not excellent and amazing.
When you're walking down, that's something I remember. I'd be walking through the village. We stayed in Plaka. And just after a while, they knew who I was, and the old person, the young person, Kala, Kala. That was like the greeting, and it just became something familiar. And when I hear your accent, it's reminding me of the time being there. And they would laugh at me in a good way when I would try to speak the Greek. Because it was a big change for me, and I'm looking at the words and I'm like, oh, what? So I just started listening, and then I would speak the words, and then I would get better at it, and then they would laugh at me, because they saw that I was trying.
Yes, but it's alive, the connection. It's not like they're not gonna be like PC, politically correct, extremely, or so. It's like they're gonna say the things you may like it, you may not, you may get upset. Sometimes you hear Greeks being very loud with each other, and they feel like you also can see that they're kind of expressing anger. But if you don't know the language, you don't know if they're actually arguing,
right,
or they are agreeing something that upsets them both. So the tonality of the anger is there. So I remember when I was in England, some of my colleagues, one of my colleagues, and I had my best friend that she's fiery too, like a powerhouse of a woman. And she was telling me something about her ex-boyfriend she was upset about, and I was upset with him. And we were both kind of intensely, like almost, there was a level of anger in our voice, not super loud or anything like that, like I'm speaking now, but with a little bit of frustration. And afterwards, a colleague of mine comes from England, says, hey, why were you fighting with your friend? So we're fighting? We were fighting. Say, yeah, I saw you when you were having coffee and you were fighting. So we're fighting. We're agreeing something with her boyfriend did to her, and we're both upset about it. So it's more alive, the connection, the conversation, We're not so reserved in expression.
I took notes on that once. We would go down to the beach, and there was one day this woman she was naked, no big deal, but everybody noticed. Everybody noticed, and she was a nice looking woman and everything. But then an older Greek woman came over because she was with her grandkids, and I took notes on this, but in that dialogue, because at that point I did understand enough Greek to know she was being polite in trying to figure out, well, look, I got some grandkids over here. I don't want you need to at least cover the bottom, but how it was being spoken, because and I don't mean to offend anything, but I was laughing like, oh my God, this sounds like machine gun fire. But she's saying something kind of nice. So it's totally exactly what you're pointing to, is that when you don't know the language, there is that tonality. I love that word you used. When the people are having a conversation, and whether they're agreeing or not agreeing, sometimes it can really seem like, whoa, what's going on here?
And also, the thing I faced when I was in England, we a lot of the times we speak on the command tone. So it's like you cutting something on your plate and say, Jake, don't cut it on that plate, cut it on the bigger one, which is a command. But the tone is smooth. And in England, they didn't hear the tone, they were hearing the syntax. And don't tell me what to do. I said it was just a suggestion, but it didn't sound like a suggestion. And it took me I said, oh my God, what am I doing wrong here? It was the first time I started thinking, because in Greece, that's mostly the way we talk, not all the time, but it's more direct, the communication. It's not so it's really interesting. It's more in Crete. There is not all the place in Greece the same, but then you have common. In Crete, it's more passionate. The people are more like there will be big hugs, but if you upset them, there will be
Oh yeah, I've seen
fight.
that too.
Big fight. So
Yeah.
it's a very they are very passionate people. So it's interesting when you're not coming from a culture that is more reserved. It's quite intense. Either way, the lover will be intense for someone, and although the lovers may kind of like them, to be more intense, but the fights will be more intense. They're not gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, okay, sorry," like that.
Can we liken that to like marital relationships or boyfriend-girlfriend relationships when people are misunderstanding one another?
That's universal. Don't get me started on communication. The communication, the biggest problem in couples, is miscommunication. We live in our stories. Like we have our story, our stories, our conditioning, and then we have an issue. So each
Yeah.
person analyzes what's happening right now according to their own bias, to their own original program. So communication becomes very challenging, especially if it's a lover.
Oh my God. Because you believe this person loves me, they got to believe what I believe.
Yeah.
You know?
If the magical thinking in couples, it's if they love me, they should know or they should understand me. I don't have to explain. I don't have to understand them. They just have to understand me.
Yeah.
And in Greece, it's very difficult for people to take responsibility. I don't know in other cultures a lot, but in Greece, it's like a matter of pride not to take responsibility. It's always better someone else's fault. Always better to be someone else's fault.
Yeah.
Well, you see it more intensely than you see it in other cultures. I like other cultures. I lived in London and I lived in California. I haven't lived in many places. So that's the other part. Greeks have a really hard time taking responsibility sometimes.
I think a lot of people do though.
Because we're talking. Yeah, I think it's more universal, that communication, how we communicate.
Have you found this to be a benefit when you're working? Do you work with people one-on-one, or how do you approach your healing modalities?
I work with people one-on-one with nowadays all over the world, because I have taught and have been in many places in the world, mostly English speaking. I don't, Greek, English, French, I don't do it. It's not that good, my French. So what was the question? Sorry.
That you can, like, these dynamics you're talking about with just communication, does that help you when you're working with your healing?
Yeah. So I don't have a one voice, one face. Like, I'm not going to be, "Oh, let's see how that made you feel." And this kind of psychotherapy, this voice, like it has to be all gentle, and I'm trying to be myself. So if I don't like something, I will say it. It's more person-centered the way I practice. I studied the alchemical model as well, the Western alchemical model with the 4 elements, which is it's a model that very easily one can understand, because it talks about fire, earth, water, like it's elements we have all around us and we're made from. So yes, if a client is very much on the creative air and is not grounded, I will be more grounded in that with that client. Like, there is the shape shifting, but not in a sense that I'm not authentic. Like, I still am myself. I'm not going to put a special voice or attitude because I'm a therapist. It's the same attitude that you use as a person.
How do you get a lot of your? Oh, sorry.
Go on.
No, I'm going to say, when being a therapist, having clients, do you have a website? Do you
I
use
don't
your
get it
social
from
media?
online. Yeah, I have a little bit of social media. I'm not, both of my teachers, and I think I have this kind of old style teaching or healing modalities, like they got to find me.
Yeah, kind of word of mouth then.
Word of mouth. When I teach, sometimes people come, but usually from word of mouth and teaching. And when I teach, with my ex-wife, when I was in the US, she was a yoga teacher. We were one of the first groups that started teaching psychotherapy, shadow work in the yoga community, because there was so much what it's called spiritual bypassing, which
Oh,
means
yeah.
you using the practices to avoid the self, not to engage. Like,
Yes.
let's say in mindfulness, most teachers that pretend to be mindfulness teachers, they teach in relaxation. So they teach in focusing or observing, but in a way that disconnects you, keeps you in a distance, or calms you down. That's relaxation. The true mindfulness is to be able to walk into your own hell, like to go and dive into your own pain and anger, or that's the true mindfulness, which uses the body, uses the breath, uses the imagination. It's a combination of tools to explore the inner world, not just because if you're angry and every time sometimes when we're angry, we want to calm down, it's good to learn to focus in our breath. So we bring our system to the center. If you just do that, every time you're angry, you connect in a split within yourself between you and the part of you that is angry. So it's not just the tool itself, it's how you use the tool. And if you don't have a psychotherapeutic education, even big spiritual teachers, they do immense transgressions. Like that's why you see spiritual teachers, and then they haven't done the inner work, like the psychological inner work, and they're very attuned spiritually, and then they go into all these kind of weird situations where they take advantage of the children. Wow, that was a slip of the tongue, but it's interesting. They take advantage of the students, the vulnerable ones,
Mhm.
or they use the students to boost their ego.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
Yeah.
old guru model where,
That's that vulnerable space.
yeah, it's you have to respect, you have to bow in the guru's feet in order to be attained. It's the guru that will help you get the attainment. But my teachers were different. My teachers were like simple people. I'll show you the path. You travel the path. And it's not about me, it's about your journey.
Yeah.
So they're not, but, finding spirituality and psychotherapy together is not like you need both. Like a psychotherapist that has no spiritual connection can pathologize certain experiences.
Mhm.
A spiritual teacher that has no psychological education can miss some very basic psychological functions and problems. So
Yeah, what you're doing is you're bringing the kind of the two different worlds together, because there's many people that are feelers and empaths, and they're very sensitive to energy and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also that neurotransmissions and all that kind of stuff. And nowadays, with all the EMF signals, with all we talked about all the different foods, all these different social media contents. There's all of these things influencing that. And when you're, maybe a sensitive person, you could be starting to think there's something wrong with you. But then if you start to investigate a little, you could realize, oh, wait a minute. There's some other things happening out there on that external, and I can at least understand that to empower myself.
yeah. So I'll give you a simple example of that. Like I was working in England with people that hear voices. My master's was also on hearing voices as an experience. Uh, so a lot of them were diagnosed with schizophrenia because they were hearing voices. Not sometimes even the voice inside your head. If you hear it and you cannot handle what it's saying, they will give you a diagnosis of schizophrenia. But I'm talking about people that hear it outside of themselves as well. So you hear like the person will say, I had this sharp pain here on my ribs, and it felt like someone was stabbing me. And the imagination was giving them like something that they cannot see, it's stabbing them, and they were scared a lot. But these kind of sharp pains, we all feel them. We can feel them from stress. We can feel them because we make the wrong move. And it's then how the mind translates this. So yes, we're influenced by a lot of things around us, and EMFs. Even when Marconi put up the first radio antenna, the Marconi antennas, the original radio signals, in the areas where the big antenna was, we had nausea, vomiting, because the frequency was changing and the body needed time to adjust. So there are always, and nowadays especially, they hack the whole system. They can make you feel things with frequencies. The research is very old. If you go to look at the active denial system that the military industry has, or the other one, I was watching the military exhibition of 2024. We have a couple of companies in Greece. So they have, one of them created this drone vehicle, like a big one. They call Minotaur from the Cretan tradition.
Oh.
Which the Minotaur is like a big one. It's like a mobile office for war. Like it's a big vehicle, like I think six axles. And he was saying on the interview, like the different systems that so he was saying this, you can fit it with the electronic warfare system, you can fit it with the laser system, and the latest one we have, and she was very proud, but I cannot tell you a lot about it, is we can make the enemy not to want to fight with microwave millimeter technology. But I can not tell you more. But we can control mood, and then we don't have to kill them. And he was very proud because of his discovery, So they have hacked the whole system. They can change the mood, and they can make you see things like the holographic technology we have right now. If you look at if you do in YouTube, whales holographic Dubai, you're going to see the projection of whales in the sky that they look completely real, because it's not AI video. It's actually projections, like ABBA. ABBA, the group, they did a holographic projection with themselves younger, a whole concert. Like they digitize themselves. If you look at the holograms, they're not transparent. They don't have transparency. They have them in the technology. They have them in the shopping centers in Dubai. That you see the dolphin coming out of the floor, and the newer ones, they even have, it's with lasers. If you touch the hologram, you have haptic feedback, so you feel like he's touching a surface, but you're not. It's a hologram. So the guy that created that technology, back in 10, 15 years ago, said, we can make your God come down from the sky and you're going to believe it. It's going to be so realistic. So imagine now combining this technology with technology that can affect the mood. They have hacked the system. So when I'm thinking as a therapist, so what do you need? Like, what do you need to walk on this planet? What I'm coming back to is knowing yourself as much as possible, so you know what is yours and what is not yours. Being able to regulate your feelings so fear doesn't take over, because you saw in the pandemic what happens with the manipulation of emotions and fear. I'm not talking about the virus, but I'm talking about how they manipulated people to get so afraid that they were fighting between each other. That wasn't random. It was fully coordinated, because they using the same words and phrases globally, because I was watching 5 different countries, and that's not random, because it felt like it was one source of information. That this week you're protecting your grandmother, next week is social responsibility. It was changing the same, but the narrative, the language was psychologically manipulative to get frightened.
100%.
And to turn people that choose A against people that choose B. And I know hypnosis, I know how these scripts work. And I was calling my colleagues in London, and I was saying, like this, the conversation I was calling you, for example, and I'll say, Chera, do you see what's happening? And without saying what I'm seeing.
Right.
And you will respond, yes. And I'm really scared how they're coordinating it so well. So we weren't talking about the virus. We were talking about the manipulation, which is something known. Like they use it in marketing. You see Coca-Cola, but with a group of people that are having fun with bikinis on a yacht. That's rising the emotion. Or
Mm-hmm.
scaring the person with news and stuff like that. If you want to manipulate someone that has high IQ, you use fear or excitement. So why? Because if I scare you that your life is in danger and you, with your brilliant mind, you choose solution A or B,
Mm-hmm.
once you choose the solution that you know it will make you feel safer, then you create like a tunnel vision, like a cognitive dissonance or cognitive bias. And then whatever information comes to challenge you, maybe the information comes from your partner, from your brother, but it's the opposite than you reject it because you don't want to go back into fear. That's a very basic way to control the psyche. So for me, it's a lot about knowing the self and being able to understand your body, feel, regulate feelings, and adaptability as well. Learning to adapt, not set goals that they're not movable. You set goals, you move, and if something happens, you learn to adapt.
Yeah.
That's amazing stuff there, Theo. How do you feel about this mantra? It's called Clear the Fear and Free the Dream. What do you think of that?
It's perfect.
It is perfect.
But I would do a little adjustment in the clear because sometimes the clearing, like it's not just the fear disappears. The fear can be there, but once you surrender into it, you see the illusion of it. So that's the clearing for me. So I just want to be, because some people think that in order to do something, they must not be afraid. No, it's an act of surrendering into what you're afraid. And then the fear doesn't control you. So
Yeah.
that's for me is the clearing. Sometimes the fear will dissipate and leave as well. But uh, the first times you attempting it is you're gonna be scared a lot. Like in the older traditions, the most potent meditations is the one that would take bones from human skull and do the malas, or have trumpets from femur bone. The Buddhist tradition. I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
weird satanic tradition. It's just and they will go and they will do mantras. What is the mantra? Is odd vibrational words that you evoke your demons in an atmosphere. Yet your psyche is kind of get tuned into the fear, like you go into a
Mm.
cemetery. You use the bones. So you set up the imagination, and you call in your demons, and the demons appear in your imagination, and then you surrender. You feed them your body and your soul. You feed everything to them. And that's one of the deepest liberation practices because what you're encountering is not outside you, is inside of you. And compare that to how they're doing spirituality or psychology today. It's like, oh, let me clear for you all the negative energies you have. And you breathe in and you breathe out and you clear. And that's a relaxation. It's a different thing. You're not clearing anything like that. So they don't teach people to go through what they're afraid, so liberate themselves from the control of the fear. They teach them to oppress it, like to cleverly cover it inside of them.
Mm.
So you have neurotic spiritual people, which is like, oh, I feel so calm right now. Your energy is not in my alignment, so I better take my distance. That has no power. That thing. It's like you need the proper environment, not nobody to offend you, nobody to bother you, in order to be calm. And now we have all these people that don't want to be offended. Okay, well, if you tell me something I don't like, maybe I'll get offended. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they don't teach resilience to people. They teach the kids to be like really like real frightened leaves in the wind. I don't know if
Yeah.
it makes sense to you because we grew up, all of us, I think, in a bit different environment. We have a little bit more resilience.
I don't know. I was kind of pampered as a
Good.
child.
Pampering is good.
Yeah. Releasing the fear for me is a daily practice that I do. through journaling and meditating, taking a walk in nature, just getting centered and grounded.
How did that sound then when I said the older practice was not only to call your demons, but also to feed them your body and your essence?
I think that's would that be a visual meditation
Mm,
practice to
yes.
do that? Yeah.
Well, with the mantras is more alive than that. Like
Yeah.
even when I was doing the hearing voices kind of my masters, Zandark was led by voices to for a whole army to win,
Mm,
and then for the same voices he was burned to the stick. The
yeah.
saints, when they meet, if you read that the saints, when they're in deep meditation and the army of demons comes for them, they try to fight it. It doesn't really work, almost never. And then they decide to surrender in the grace of God. So the key words here is the surrendering, basically.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
trusting, because surrendering to the grace of God is you trust something bigger than you and you surrender your resistance into it. And then what Jake mentioned is like you go through it. You clear the fear because
Hmm.
you pass it like a small smoke screen. But before that, you feel like you're dying and your heart may jump out of your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Nobody has died from a death meditation.
Mm-mm. No, nobody has. I
Yes,
haven't yet.
yeah, exactly. So I think we gonna. It's interesting because this period has been predicted thousands of years ago, from the Hindu tradition at least, and it's a period they said it will be a period of transition, and they call it Kali Yuga. And the main characteristic is you won't know what's true and what's not, but
Hmm.
that's outside. Inside, you can learn how to sit in stillness and figure out what's true and what's not.
Right. Yeah. I had a question and now
Sure.
it went,
It's okay.
it'll come back.
Okay.
Well, I liked how you went into all of the externals out there and the coordination during the lockdowns. That to me that was a psychological war on humanity, and I'm glad you brought that up because. And then the other thing is that mantra. That's from my book. That was all about clearing the fear to free my dream. To follow that.
But define clear so people don't misinterpret. In your book, I mean, define it so people understand what you mean by clear. Like,
Yeah. But to go through that, and then you made me think of. I've seen the posts from people. They'll have like 1G, and then there was, I think, Spanish flu, 2G, the next disease, and then 3G, 4G, 5G, and 5G was for the COVID. And then now they're looking to bust out this 6G soon, because I was looking into that a little bit. Just the whole, all these agencies that are there to, have safe and effective, for the lockdowns. But with the EMF, there's the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, or whatever it's called. They're supposed to make sure that these signals are safe. And those are the only tests that they don't do. And I just see how it's always so backwards. But it reminded me of, I've heard people talk about that with the sound, the frequency, and the vibration, that when they're introducing these new generation of signals, it comes with it. Apparently, I haven't researched it, but I've seen it. Many people share that in each introduction of each new generation from 1G all the way up to 5G, there were these big, giant events that were happening to the health of people.
yeah. That's why I mentioned Marconi, what was the original change in frequencies in the air, radio signals. It was after the Second World War, or after the first. Yeah, I don't remember when was Marconi, but it started from there. The frequencies.
Okay, that's right.
It was, and people without understanding technology, they kind of make assumptions. It was funny, the other thing they use in a lot is climate change, which the maths don't make any sense about carbon dioxide. It's less than 0.5%. And from that 0.5% in the atmosphere, 11 to 13% is human, right? So they're talking about climate change. The EU UN report on climate, they never mention activity of the sun. The sun is in solar maximum since October 2024. Let's see, the climate, the magnetic poles have moved to the North Pole. It's like somewhere in Siberia now. It changes the climate, a lot. The climate always changes. There's no mention on that. They're using climate as well as not pollution, climate. I'm saying CO2 specifically, not pollution, as an agenda, again, to scare people. Now, there's another nut thing is happening with aliens, like they start testifying in Congress under oath, with alien videos and unidentified aerial objects, or this or that one. And if you hear the narrative, it's again about fear. So are they a threat? Threat the environment, threat the aliens, threat the pandemic. So the common denominator in all the narratives is scaring people, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And you're talking about frequencies, 4G, 5G. There are books with extensive research about how, in a more like peer-reviewed, that how the different frequencies affect the cellular level, the DNA, the cellular level. The active denial systems I mentioned before about mood, I think they work above 9G, something like that. People, and it's confusing because the thing that you don't know what's true and what's not. For example, MIT had a presentation, I don't know, 1 year ago, about nano spray technology with graphene. You spray it, it goes in your body, and you're using frequencies to assemble the graphene to target specific cells. It's amazing technology. Now, a person can take that, and without knowing or not knowing, they can create a whole story around that, but the information is not super clear. Someone in Spain and in Japan, they found graphene oxide inside certain vaccines.
Right.
And then you can create your own stories around it. The thing is, there's a lot of actual factual information, and there's a lot of misinterpretation of what's happening and what's not happening. And it's very difficult to know. So you can lose, like I can easily lose myself trying to figure out what's true. But in the end of the day, what I have easier access to is myself. So if I get scared and I know how to balance myself when I'm scared, they cannot control anything. I don't care if it's with special frequencies or it's with narratives in the TV or if the aliens come down and zap our brains. I don't care. Like, if I know how to surrender into my own death, I'm liberating. Even if the house is burning, I'm liberated from fear.
Liberation, baby. I love it.
It's not easy to learn how to die before you die. But
I die daily.
Yeah, we have to,
Yeah.
It's there's also this, I think it was shamanic saying, but I don't know the original source. We say, you walk in life and life throws you arrows and you learn to avoid them. And you can become quite skillful in trying to avoid the arrows that life throws you. But some of them will find you. At some point, you may realize that instead of trying to avoid the arrows, you turn within and you find the target within and you clear the target. So the arrows don't find the target, they just pass through. So I kind of like that. And it has to do a lot with self-awareness, that kind of saying,
Yeah.
That's some philosophical stuff there.
Yep. Philosophical, psychological, and spiritual. It's all together.
Yes. Why should it be separate?
Yeah, it's interesting, because the condition on the planet is quite harsh. It's duality is quite a harsh environment. If imagine, like, let's say the traditions are right and we all come from one, and then you come from a oneness, you come into form And then you have to experience me being here, you being there, me fighting with you, you fighting with me. And everything in the planet feeds on life. Like, I know we want to try to be kinder to the animals, but everything it's life. Like, and I don't care. Like, some people say, yeah, but plants. Yeah, I say, look, if you're sensitive enough, you realize plants have consciousness too. And if you be more sensitive, you may even realize that rocks have a consciousness too. And with plants, we start proving it as well, because we see plants react differently to different people, to different stimulus. If you cut them, if you did it. So there is one very harsh condition on the planet, that life is like it's life and recycles,
Mm-hmm.
And just that makes this planet very hard for me. Like, you have to, if you're kind of sensitive enough and you have to eat something, I don't care if it's a fruit or from a tree or an animal, uh, you can lose yourself. Like, you're going to eat sunlight. Okay, whatever. So we come in a very specific lesson on this planet. We are not more, like, at best nowadays, around 100 years, which is like a drop in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it helps to have a spiritual perspective, like a perspective, let's say, that we're just a drop in the ocean in this lifetime. So not to take it too seriously, but at the same time, be involved in it and trying to
Mm-hmm.
learn and create beauty, harmony, kindness, love, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Love is such an important thing for me, and I know a lot of people, to evoke that kindness through love, unconditional love. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is that God loves without regard. And then I strive to be that way,
You're not
to love
God.
people. I know, but I am one with Him,
Okay.
one with Source, but to love people regardless of where they're at in their life.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, if you learn to love your enemy, it's going to be good. Sometimes a smaller practice is what I say sometimes to my friends. Like, in California, I have friends both from the left and the right. I just go for good people. I don't go for. So I used to say to them, whoever you vote, I'm sure you know the person you vote what it does good, but
mhm,
try to figure out what they don't do right and know what they don't do right. And the opposition that you don't like, instead of just demonizing them, know what they're doing wrong, but also figure out what they may be doing right. If you just black or white, this is all good and this is all bad, you're not looking at the situation. You're not and people some people understand it, some people get so reactive. All
yeah,
important matters. Let's say one of the most difficult things to work, not the only, but the most difficult work to work in therapy is with a young woman that wants to have an abortion.
mhm,
Abortion is a very difficult. I'm one reason I'm glad I'm a male in this lifetime is I don't have to deal with this decision.
yeah,
So if you see how they polarize people, it's either all black or all white. And it's a
yeah,
very difficult when you have a person, they need to, in order to make a choice, they need to understand what it means and what is happening and what's the real reason they don't want to and what's the real reason they want to and how can they handle that and what support like, it's so complicated, the issue,
yeah,
that, and then you go and see, no, you shouldn't do it. Oh yes, you should do it. Oh yes, you shouldn't do it. Oh yes, you should do it. And there's no balance in the conversation. They don't teach you how to argue, like have a healthy argument and to find better solutions, because this is not, like, in issues like that, it's not a standard answer you'll find and there's nothing else. It's an exploration. Every time, every single time a woman wants to have an abortion, it's an exploration of morality, of life, of
mhm,
fears, in exploration. It's not that easy to have, like, no, you should do this or no, you shouldn't do that.
mhm. It's becoming fully aware, is what you're saying.
As much as you can. It's not,
Yeah,
I don't even think you can become fully aware in all of that,
right.
but at least instead of teaching people to think and explore and coming to their own conclusions, you try to scare them, demonize them, force them, and you don't teach the thinking. I use a very sensitive subject because it's one of the most sensitive subjects for me. But it's true. It's not like it's a great example, how they don't want us to be thinking people and having conversations. And would the same woman that would say, I don't want the baby, would it say the same if it knows it has the support of all her family and all her friends? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it's not that a simple question, It's not it's such a simple. And that they do with everything. You take everything: racism, guns, who is a good guy and who's a bad guy in the war. It's all over the place.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
I know it's difficult conversations. I was thinking maybe I shouldn't bring it at all, but then again.
No, it's a good conversation because there's a lot of women that do struggle with that decision.
Of course.
And there's so many factors because everyone's an individual,
Sure.
And to be the person that is trying to tell you that it's wrong or being the person that's trying to tell you that it's right, you don't know what's going on inside of the person that's trying to make that decision.
Exactly. And I can tell you from personal experience with working with people, it's a very difficult decision. And you're going to have to deal with things no matter how you choose afterwards.
Right.
Like, it's not just the decision, it's also irrelevant on how you choose. You're going to have thoughts about it for them. Like, it's not, except if you're completely disconnected and you know it. And then again, it's another problem. If you're because even if the first time you have the conversation about an issue, then the second time you're going to have a similar decision, or not even in the same subject, you will have known that, I can think about this. I can protect myself differently or not, or you learn how to expand the way you think instead of trying to learn if I belong to the reds or I belong to the blues, if I belong to the yellows or I belong to the greens.
Right.
Which, like the teams, when we have football teams, they teach you from very early how to do it. Boys and girls, greens and blues. English and like how Jake was saying, well, I thought outside the US they were all barbarians. Yes, the Greeks back in the days were also think everybody else except the Greeks were barbarians, It's not exactly like that.
No.
Well, you're touching into tribalism and collectivism.
Yep.
That's part of that divide and conquer tactic, to have people think you're different than that person, so join this group now. We were talking, it came up because I was watching the replay from our first episode, and like some of these topics that are being talked about, if you critically think for yourself and you come to your own idea of what you think about that topic, there's probably somebody that wants to put you in a box then and say, oh, that means you're this or that means you're that. But it doesn't always mean that. It just means, look, I've come to my own decision here. But collectivism and tribalism, they want to put everybody in a box.
You want to belong. Yeah, you're totally right on that one. And it's difficult to be a free thinker, in our days. People want to know where you belong. So if you're with us or or against us, it's like these are the only solutions,
Yeah, free think, free spirits.
We also put ourselves in a box.
Yeah. Every name we give to ourselves, every name, good or bad, we put ourselves in a form. That is one of the greatest meditations, the who am I, but not the just who am I. It's like you ask, who am I? I'm Theo. I'm not that. Who am I? I'm a man. I'm not that. Who am I? I'm a brother. I'm not that. Who am I? I'm stupid. I'm not that. Who am I? I'm clever. I'm not that. Until you're left with no words to put in, no frame, because we need frame, but also we are way beyond any frame we're gonna use in our, even like in psychology. Let's say if a kid grows up as being the bad kid, they're going to have issues. But the thing is, you
Mm-hmm.
think if they grow up thinking they're a good kid, they're not going to have issues. They are going to have issues
They
because
are.
good kid can also be limiting because you want to do something that the others don't agree. And because you're a good kid, according to
Mm-hmm.
others, then you shouldn't do it. But that's limiting your
Right.
freedom now.
So how do we get away from the influences? Do we ever get away from the influences of others?
100%. I don't know if you can be in a form and live all forms. Maybe some enlightened people got closer to that. I don't know, but
Yeah.
being incarnated in a body, which is a form by itself, and moving outside this form, I think is more of a journey than an actual final result.
Yeah.
And we need to be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to, the detachment principle that the Buddhist tradition is teaching. I had a very good story once. One of my teachers told me. It's like, imagine there is a big tree next to a river, and there is a Buddhist monk doing deep meditation practices on detachment, and he sees a kid drowning, and he opens his eyes, he looks at the kid and says, "It is what it is," and continues its meditation. And my teacher was saying that's the misinterpretation of detachment. The true detachment is the same scene. The monk is deep in meditation. The kid is shouting. The monk stops immediately his meditation. He jumps into the river, tries to save the kids, does his best to save the kid, but fails to do it. And then doesn't manage to save the kid. And then he comes out and says, "It is what it is." And he continues his meditation. So it's actually being involved in the world, I think, our condition, but not
Yeah.
completely lose ourselves into that condition,
Right.
I don't think
Yeah.
we have to become like, it's not going to be a life in this planet if I'm not interested in food, if I'm not interested in the company of anybody, if I'm not interested in
Mm-hmm.
anything. Okay, go somewhere else now. You don't need to be here. You're beyond Earth.
I like that. I like being beyond Earth.
Yeah, I know some people do, but then again, you go to Crete, you eat some good food, and it grounds you immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, the taste! What is
The
this?
moussaka.
Moussaka! Wow!
Moussaka. Oh gosh. It's baklava too.
Baklava! Whoa!
Uh,
And I
yeah.
know it might sound cliche, but one of my favorites was the gyro in the pita bread. Give me that gyro meat. Give me some onions and tomatoes and some tzatziki. I'm good, man. That was, I miss that so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did find a Mediterranean Turkish owned place here locally that
Oh,
has
the
them.
Turkish, yeah.
it's close. Turkish food is
Yeah.
quite close.
Yeah.
It's quite close. It's very similar stuff you can find. Differences, but it's
Yeah.
similar.
But the family, they welcome you in and they always give you something free, a free dessert
Yeah.
at the end of your meal. And it's just
Yeah.
like, "Hey, how are you?" and "Nice to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
you again." And yeah, I love it.
I think that we need a little bit more of that in our lives to still kind of connect. But you saw what I noticed in California is people didn't want to talk to their good friends about their feelings, and they were isolating themselves.
Yeah.
And then they didn't want to share the other person's stories as well. And then the relationships were mostly more superficial
Mhm.
because they didn't
Yeah.
go and have the conversations, listen to each other, just be in each other's presence, even if you're not up and high and amazing
Mhm.
today. I had my best friends. That's like, I'm shall we meet for a coffee? I don't feel very well today. I don't want to bother you. I said, what on earth are you talking? I'm Greek. Come and talk to me,
Yeah.
It's like, you're not gonna like what I said, look, I'm not asking to entertain me. Like, how many times I had this conversation in California? I don't need entertainment. I just want to be there for you,
Yeah.
And it's
Communion.
communion, and even in simple ways, communion with the self, like
Mhm.
you said before, and communion with the other. And the other is both another human, an animal, the nature, whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah. I saved a bird
Bravo.
and It comes
but you
it
know
comes
that.
and sees me.
Yeah, but
Every
listen,
day.
that bird may needed to die because it was time for it to incarnate in a higher form, and now you blocked his evolution. Have you ever thought of that?
No.
That's true. Oh, if something is in our path, I think we should intervene. It's
Mhm.
it's life is such a mystery. Like we think we know what's the right way, but
Yeah.
it's
Well, it
so.
sounds like Chera kind of did this story. She was meditating, then she saw the bird, and she thought, well, I'm going to go interact. Oh, now the bird's better. All right. Now I'm going to go back to meditating.
I told you another story. I had a little office in the back of the house where I was in California, for my
Mhm.
practice. So I saw one spring, I saw a hummingbird waiting for me in the entrance every time I was going to go in, and it was flying in front of me and was showing me its color here. I said, "Oh my God, I have a friend like a hummingbird. I can't
Uh-huh.
believe it." Such a sensitive. I was so like this, like you are. I was smiling. I
Yeah.
was so excited. 3 days later, I figured out that it had its nest in front of my office, and it was just protecting its nest. It perceived me as a threat, not as a friend. That was good disillusionment.
Oh, you should have kept that thought of the friend. It wants me to see its nest. It wants
Yeah,
me
that's
to.
delusional though, because then when I realized what was going on, I was trying to move away from the nest when I was going.
Yeah.
I
But
couldn't because it was just outside.
Mhm. But a hummingbird is a sign of what, abundance and prosperity.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it
you
wasn't
told
my
me
friend.
no. And you told me to embrace the raven, so I've been doing some
Oh,
exercises
the
to
ravens.
embrace the raven.
Whatever animal comes in front of you, if it shocks you, if it's frightening you, it has a message for you.
Hmm.
Like
Oh yeah.
any symbol that activates an intense reaction, it has
Hmm.
a reflect. It's reflecting back into you.
Yeah.
That's the message. The message is
Yeah.
what kind of mirror this is for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You're
And then,
so amazing.
yeah, you guys are too. It's really fun to have conversations like that.
Yeah. And I don't know what your time frame is, but we've been going for over an hour.
Yes, I think I have a session in 20 minutes, so
Okay.
we
Yeah,
can
we'll let
wrap
you
it up.
prepare, and we will definitely have you back for more conversations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Formal or informal, we can just sit down and talk about stuff.
Yeah, because I know you have a lot of things you can talk about.
Yeah,
So,
I have different things to talk about. We all do.
Are you in Athens now?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to go to Crete. I'm going to Crete every year to run a retreat of mindfulness, and a friend of mine does yoga. And the intention of that retreat was to bring people from abroad and get the sense of the people there, of the clean food, of nature. And the mindfulness is to connect with the self, with nature, with everything, and the specific practices, which have the same basis. But this year, the place is closed. I don't know if they want to sell it or renew it. I'm going to find out when I go there. But we're going anywhere for like 25 days. So I'm going to be in Crete for like 20 days down in Sapphire. I can give you the dates at some point if you want.
yeah, I would love to come some year. That would be
Yeah, let's
fun.
connect because it's a possibility to maybe go back there for a little while. It's not for sure, but yeah, I just thought it was really interesting because as we pet sit, I don't know where my next pet sit's going to be at the end of next month.
Okay.
And so it was just an idea. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, Theo, he's a Greek.
I can tell you a
Let's
couple
see
of
what's
things for
going
Crete.
on.
Yeah, I can tell you a couple of things for Crete. If you want, you can always connect, even if it's like a year later or a day later, doesn't matter. Even if we haven't spoken for a year, if you send me a message and said, "Hey, let's connect. I need some info for Crete or whatever." Yeah, and I'm always open. Like when I'm in vacation, I tell them if my friends call me, I'll say, "Oh, we're there. If you want to come, we can arrange it, and we all come together. Spontaneously sometimes." Greece is fun, man. It's different quality of life than everywhere else in the world I have experienced.
Yeah, I'm afraid if I go, I want to stay.
Yeah, you can. Anytime.
Be blessed.
Lovely to chat with you
Yeah.
both.
Sending you much love. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, guys. It was
Yeah.
lovely. I enjoyed it.
Kalispera.
Kalispera, Jake. Come to Greece. Show you around. Come to Greece with Theo. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
All right. Take
All right.
care of
Take care.
yourselves, and we'll talk again.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wow. I just love him.
Yeah.
He just warms my soul, just being in his presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a good energy and is very, very knowledgeable. Wow.
Yeah.
Retain that kind of information and tap into all that.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many things I did want to kind of keep diving into, but I knew
Mm-hmm.
I am somewhat aware to allow the conversations to navigate around too, because I realized in the beginning, I because it was really easy to talk with them, but I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep focusing on this, so then I would
Yeah.
kind of quiet down a little bit to allow it to
Yeah.
transition naturally.
He touched on some things that he could really expand on.
Yeah.
Believe me. I talked to him for like 2 hours a couple weeks ago about the different things, and he's just so knowledgeable about the awarenesses that we need to have to come into our own,
Yeah.
and make our own decisions for ourselves. So, and that's a lot to do with living your love. It's finding those different aspects of what resonates with you, with what's going on in the world, and how we let it affect us. So,
Yeah, I think that kind of sums up what Theo is about, because we never really got directly into it, but he's living his love through the awareness, through the feeling, through all of the modalities that he works with. And he's just like this empowered, critical thinking human right now, completely immersed.
And he's helping others through his practice do the same. He's not forcing. And that's what I like about his nature. It's just kind of like an even flow, that's just, it's grounded.
Yeah.
But it's also,
he said people find me
high
through the word of mouth. I mean, how awesome is that? Literally, we talked so much about connection and communication and that the unseen is there all the time, and people just come to him. So that's really cool.
Yeah, he's got that energy for sure. That attracts the right people. Yeah, so we will wrap this up. Yeah. So, and if this resonates with you, we'd like to invite you to join the conversation, leave a comment, have any questions, put it in the comments. We'll eventually get to it and answer it. But join us over on Substack, where the podcast and publication merge together in a more immersive experience. Subscribe, definitely subscribe. The more people who subscribe, the more people we reach. So we just want to continue great conversations with wonderful people who are living their love. And until next time, I am Chera.
And this is Jake.
And we are here to encourage you to go where your heart leads and live your love.